we are excited to show you the latest product demo of Anyshift. Just before Stefan presents the product, I'm going to kind of present in a high-level manner what we built. So Anyshift, we are like an AI SRE, site reliability engineer. And just to explain why we are building an AI SRE, we both have different backgrounds, Stefan and I, as co-founders. I have an AI research background. I did some research in fintech before Anyshift and during my studies. And Stefan has an extensive experience in the production system for more than 20 years. He has been working from sysadmin to SRE to DevOps. He wrote a book about infrastructure as code in 2017 and sold his previous company to Snyk. And when we began working together, we knew we wanted to mix both of our worlds to make something interesting. Today, we are very lucky to have Hilary from MotherDuck as well to explain and like to showcase how they're using Anyshift in their day-to-day at MotherDuck. So it would be awesome to have her, and thanks Hilary for being here. Especially it's late for her. She's in New York at the moment. So to explain what we build at Anyshift, let's begin with a graph. Everything that we build at Anyshift is based on this graph, which is a deep knowledge graph of your production system. Production system, it means app plus infrastructure. And what we do in the first end for AI SRE Annie is to be able to query this digital copy of your infrastructure. This is going to be a mix of structured data that we're going to collect from your cloud infrastructure, AWS, GCP, Azure, Kubernetes clusters, from containers to control plane, all the metadata, codebase, applicative codebase, infrastructure codebase, Terraform state to make the link between everything. And it's going to be a version graph of your infrastructure, which means that we have this huge change management graph like as a copy, and basically can ask the question, what changed? Which is a very hard question to answer to when you deal with complex systems. On top of it, you're going to have Annie, or AI SRE, which is a thinking model. Actually, it's a master with sub-agents. All of our sub-agents are specialized with different tasks. One about observability, so how to query observability data. The other one about change management, and the last one about infrastructure query, the graph query. On top of that, Annie can query other sources of data. It can query your live data, Datadog, Grafana, Splunk, you name it. And also internal knowledge, unstructured data, such as your Postmortems or runbook. And on top of it, we build our product. The first one, we call it Annie Knowledge Base. The perplexity of your pod, ask any question to Annie, and you will get a very detailed answer about all those connected integration that Stefan is going to showcase later. Annie root cause analysis. This is a proactive part of Annie. You plug it to your incident management system through different set of integration, PagerDuty, incident.io, etc., or like through like different alert system on Slack. And you will get Annie being automatically triggered on an alert and investigate and find the root cause of what happened. Last part that we're super excited about is proactive Annie. It's one thing to solve an incident. It's another thing to prevent them. And so what we just released is the proactive version of Annie that continuously looks at what's happening in your pod through like our knowledge graph and your observability data, and draws you some conclusion, a very fine-grained conclusion about what's happening to warn you about something that may happen with like an increased trend in terms of risk. That's a cool snapshot of a graph. Actually, it's a very small one. In reality, it's much, much bigger. And this is an example of the type of relationships that Annie is going to be able to go through during an analysis. And now let's go to the demo. Stefan.
More time.
Yeah.
I don't need this one.
Yes.
So let me remove this and okay. So, all right. Crashed. It's okay. All right. So yeah, Roxanne just walked you through the vision. I'm going to show you how it looks like in reality. So Annie, that's the name of our AI agent. It has like the full context of all your infrastructure, as she said, from the cloud provider to the monitoring tool to the code to the relationship between the different workloads in production, even the variables, the links between your services and other services, all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to start by creating a real production issue. We have a demo environment, so you can see something really breaking. And let me wait for the job to complete so we can have like the demo. Cool, it broke. So to have the proof, it broke. Let me go here. So that's the demo environment. It should, yeah, we have like a major issue. So in a while, Datadog will discover that we have like 500 errors in production, and that's a problem. All right. So let's get started.
Can you share your screen on Zoom? I think
you're right. I forgot to share my screen from our Zoom. Sorry, online attendees.
Perfect.
I forgot to share my screen. So yeah. So what I was saying is I was making a proof that we broke production. This demo environment doesn't work anymore. And we're gonna have an alert soon. So what I wanted to show you first, sorry, ouch, what is this? No. Yes. So what I wanted to show you first, that's weird. How can I go there? Okay. It's all about what Annie knows. So we have a chat, so you can talk to Annie directly on Slack or on the platform here. And I wanted to simulate here, so we don't wait for like a few seconds or minutes for answers. So the question, like, trust us on this, it's working. The idea here is we have there different chats and here the different investigations. We have like different integrations, etc. So here I simulated what a junior engineer, some developer, or someone new in the production team could ask. So, all right, I'm new in the team. What are the different AWS zones that we use and the different services in each zone? That's definitely something, if I was new in your team, I would be like interested. Is it running on US East 1? Is it running in Europe? What are the workloads here and there? So that's the type of things that Annie can answer immediately. And in this case, it's the full production environment that you can talk about. So everything about US East, the different AZ here, the number of running pods. So we are in the Kubernetes environment here, a few percentage points. We have the names of the different services. We even have like initial information about things that are looking weird here that Annie discovered, etc., etc. So you have the different layers, infrastructure, application, and you can have like a very deep level of information. Can you imagine here at the time it would have taken you as a senior engineer, a manager, if you had to train every single new recruit or developer in the team. I was spending a lot of time answering like, in which zone do we have this information? How does it work in Europe? How does it work in US West 2 specifically? That sort of stuff. So Annie can answer this in seconds. It saves you like a lot of time already for this. So that's a first thing about what Annie knows and what Annie can bring to your team. The second thing that Annie can do with knowledge is so that's a brand new feature. You're the first ones to see this. It's about bringing this knowledge as diagrams. So it's cool to have like a huge dump of information. It's even better if you can answer a question like, draw a service dependency flow diagram showing how requests travel through my infrastructure. To do this, she literally had to go through the entire graph of the infrastructure. So go from the ELB, the load balancer, the code. So she knows about this specific proxy here. It needs to go through different AZ, etc., etc. So you can go through all the different services. She even went through the monitoring here, so the slash status, etc., etc., etc. So that's the type of things that you can do. You can ask her other stuff, like let me show you how I prepared this afternoon. You can ask her a schema of the architecture, the one that we just had earlier. So here we can have, let me zoom. We can have like this specific availability zone. You have like the specific nodes, the different pods running, the agents, the Datadog agent, that sort of stuff. So it can create that knowledge visually. Imagine the time it would take you to bring your team in a room, build this in a whiteboard, that sort of stuff. Now any engineer can ask like, oh, I wonder how this works. I'm working on this specific service here, and I would like to know how this works. Is there anything else? So I can create some diagrams dynamically. So that's another thing about what Annie knows. Let me show you. So that's about the knowledge. Now I would like to show you how the graph really works end to end from a knowledge perspective for an engineer. So in this case, an engineer would ask me, oh, I want to delete this Nginx Ingress service for some reason. I don't know. I saw on Twitter that it was bad. So now, instead of having me to look at this engineer and say, oh, no, that's the reason why you shouldn't remove the Ingress Nginx proxy, it can ask Annie and have the answer in seconds. In this case, it's super interesting. We won't go through everything, but being a graph, a complete graph of the full production system, it can go through, it can really tell your new engineer wanting to delete the Nginx Ingress, or and say, oh, this domain is actually going through this Cloudflare load balancer, then go through all the things we already saw that make a complete production system. And inside the platform, Annie can even give you information about her own memory, because Annie builds memory over time. That's why Annie is better the more you use it. So in this case, Annie, so it's the proof. It's a memory. Here you click on it and it's a memory item. And she remembers from previous explorations, from discussions, conversations, incidents, things. In this case, she remembers explicitly something about the topology of the infra, and she remembers that there is some Cloudflare, specifically Cloudflare environment, and the whole thing from Redis to the backend to Nginx to DLB to Cloudflare to the internet, without having to go through the graph. So the power here is really about, it's already huge to have a graph, but now you also have like the memory, so it's instant. The information is instant. It's as if you were like, oh, Stefan, tell me how it's work, and I can tell you immediately this, but at the size of your team and the entire team. So yeah, that's about the knowledge and the graph itself. So let us go back to our production incident. Yeah, 6:23. So Datadog, we broke something just before you arrived deliberately. So Datadog, so 17,500 errors. That's really what the type of things you have as an SRE engineer. So yeah, you don't have much information. It's 2 a.m. You wake up and you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So either on Slack, you can have like initial information. I forgot to click on Start RCA. Or you can have this on the platform. I love the platform because it's very visual. So on the go, it's cool to have like the Slack version, but on the platform, it's great. So Annie starts by ingesting the issue. So we have like a bunch of logs, 500 errors and stuff. And she starts thinking, oh, maybe it looks like it's a 500 error. We have like services, so maybe it's a pod failure. She allocates like a percentage point, so it's like the poly market of
like confidence.
Yeah. There's a lot of evidence. So everything that she has facts. So she proves her point. By having different facts and here and the different missing information in this case. So in this case, she had the real issue here. So she builds hypotheses in this case, and she dumps the bad ones, and sometimes she creates new ones as she investigates. So she goes through the whole graph. When she needs logs, she asks Loki or Datadog or Victoria logs or whatever. When she needs metrics, she can make the links between the specific pod and ask Datadog or Grafana for this specific metric. And she can correlate a lot of things over time. As Roxanne said, this graph is version over time. So if the problem happened, 5 minutes ago, you want the graph and the relationships of the graph from 5 minutes ago, not from now, because the problems were 5 minutes ago. So she discovers all the things, and she builds memory as well during the incidents. She remembers, oh, I was looking at this. That's a weak signal or something wrong. I'll go back to the weak signals after this. So we have like the different evidence, we have like the different sources. Once again, Annie is a master agent with a lot of specialized sub-agents, and they have a lot of information. We can have a lot of the details and the reasons why she found this. So yeah, that's the root cause. In minutes, you have it would take me dozens of minutes because I have to open 20 tabs. Open the logs, read through the logs, find the correlations, the metrics. Oh, it's this, it's not that, etc., etc., etc. So in minutes, like you are page in the middle of the night, and you have like probably good evidence, and in most of the cases, 80-90% of the cases, the right root cause. So that's a lot of time saved. So that's an incident, a real one. If we go to the conversation, we can click on conversation here, and you can chat with your incident. So you have the incident, you have the different hypotheses, the graph, etc. inside the chat now, if you want, but I prefer the large investigation view that it's more focused. But now the incident is down. So I prepared this so we don't waste time. Who wrote postmortems in their life? It's terrible. Like it's taking you like minutes in the worst moment of your life. You have to like find every information or every link, etc. So now you can just ask Annie, write the postmortem for this incident, please, because we are very polite. And now in like 49 seconds, Annie wrote the postmortem. That's the error that was like earlier this afternoon, the severity, blah, 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 blah. So you have the exact sum, you have the root cause analysis, the confidence, the reasons why, and that's the real reason. That's exactly what we did to break the prod. You will have the timeline. The timeline, it's a nightmare to build a correct timeline of your events. But now she can go to the logs, she can go to the metrics, you can go to everything that happened on Kubernetes, the actions, everything. So you have even just this is cool during an incident. And she suggests what she can in this context here. So she's suggesting to do something. And she has some suggestions as well on the long-term let's say improvements for this problem. In this case, it's the demo use case, so her long-term improvement we will not apply because we want to keep doing the demo. So that's really about the root cause analysis and how you can react in investigation. And the last thing I wanted to show you is what we call proactive Annie. So it's pretty new. It's all about Annie not being reactive. So right now you are chatting Annie, I'm a young engineer, you have like, you woke up in the middle of the night. But proactive Annie, she's basically doing the stuff, the work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. What does it mean? It means that she's proactively lurking around the infrastructure. She's looking at the log, she's looking at the metrics, she's looking at all the weird things, the weird patterns, the weak signals of your infra. Every hour she builds a report for herself. So I'm spending my life with this notebook, noting stuff. She's doing this 24 hours a day. And every hour she builds a report for herself. And once a day she builds a report about what happened during the day that is worth noting. And once a week, she builds a report for us humans. So we are making this configurable. If you want to be flooded with reports every day, you can. But at this point, once a week is already cool. So let me show you one from a real one from a customer that we anonymized. For obvious reasons, we are allowed to share it, but anonymized. So it's on the platform, but I used the PDF extractor to show it to you because otherwise it could not be anonymized. So that's the reason why. So you have, so basically it's a...
A little bit.
I'm sorry?
Can you zoom?
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So yeah, it's an 18 pages long report for a full week of issues. So that's good. So she found critical issues, high issues, I don't know. So that's their infrastructure. So the second one is interesting because it's actually a weak signal that Annie discovered. So today, the API gateway had like a huge latency spike, and me as an infrastructure manager, I will receive this. I'm like, oh, I will have some log samples here. That's interesting. I have an information about what broke. I have information about what was around, some evidence, some suggestion about the fix. And more importantly, I have this information for me as a guy responsible for prod. I have the information that we don't have any monitor for this thing. So Annie just telling me that it's critical. The API gateway have 0 application level SLI monitors, etc., etc., etc. So you can even have like, oh, cherry on the cake, the query for Datadog, great. So that's the type of things that proactive Annie is doing. She's about to do a lot more things with like being able to proactively query your infra, do some actions. She can already do specific things with your AWS CLI as a read-only binary. But yeah, that's what I wanted to share about proactive Annie. So yeah, to me, Annie is basically all about knowledge, the graph, the links for your whole production systems. She's all about investigating, and now she's all about like proactively informing you 24 hours a day of things that are weak signals. It's like, exciting. Before the questions, let's have Hilary on Zoom. So Hilary is a happy user of Anyshift, and how can I make this work? I want to invite her. So stop share. All right, Hilary, I hope you are ready, and I'm promoting you to panelists. So Hilary is joining. Hi, Hilary.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us so late. Your time zone. It's still early here in San Francisco. Thank you for joining from New York.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. It's good to be here. I apologize. I have an excited puppy on the sofa here with me, so you may see a tail or an ear, but it's nice to see you.
Cool. Thank you, Hilary. So yeah, so you're Hilary. You're managing the prod at MotherDuck, and maybe you want to say a few words about yourself and.
Yeah. So I lead the infrastructure team at MotherDuck. And so infrastructure team is made up of 8 people, including myself. We have a mix of backgrounds. Many of us are DevOps SRE type folks. Some of us are platform engineers. But basically what we do at MotherDuck is manage all of the cloud resources, monitor observability. We run all the on-call schedules. So pretty traditional DevOps SRE stuff. And then we do a little bit of platform engineering along with the other folks on the platform team, but we have a separate platform team.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you. So yeah, you've been using Annie for a few weeks now. And yeah, we asked you to share your experience about Annie because you seemed like using Annie quite well the past few weeks. So if you can share freely with our audience your usage, your pains, what were you wanting to solve, and how Annie helped in your case?
Yeah, absolutely. So we, like many startups, we're at a stage where we're transitioning from a very small engineering team. In the 2 years that I've been there, we started at about 12 engineers and now we're up to about 45. So it's been very, very fast growth. And one of the effects of that has been that even though we do have an on-call schedule that includes all engineers, everyone participates, we were finding more and more that newer folks or more junior folks were unable to solve many of the problems that they were encountering on call. And one of us more senior people was sort of getting paged anyway, right? So we had this system where even though theoretically we all took a share on call, right? There were 3 or 4 of us who were repeatedly getting paged because we were the people who knew how to solve the problem. MotherDuck is a database, so it's an infrastructure tool. We have a ton of observability data. We have some very complicated dependency chains. It's just a very complex system that takes a while for new folks to wrap their head around to an extent where they're able to be effective troubleshooting production systems. So one of the things that we were hoping to accomplish with an AI SRE was actually to have Annie be a sort of partner for newer folks when they were starting out on call and they were starting out troubleshooting issues. She has proved really helpful for that. One of the things that I've actually found really useful is to use her as a learning tool. I'm currently onboarding 3 people at one time, which is a lot. And it's actually been really nice when they've come to me with a question to be able to use that as an opportunity both to sort of trial Annie and get some help with onboarding them and to point them toward Annie to say like, hey, let's ask Anyshift that and see, how that answer looks. And then there's like a nice learning opportunity too, to do the moment of like, does this seem right to you? Does it seem like she got the right answer, right? Etc. She's also been really useful in incidents. I think one of the things that's really nice about Annie is that she's actually very fun to interact with. So it makes incidents feel a little bit less stressful. People enjoy having her there. And then the other thing that I've noticed is that, like many AI solutions, she's really, really good at doing things that a human being could do, but it would take us a really long time to do it. So, for example, we recently had an issue in production where we had a bug with a newly released package version that we had just bumped up to. But it wasn't obvious at the outset that that was what was causing the issue. It was a very obscure bug. And so basically, we got to the point where we thought that that was probably the issue, and I was able to ask Annie to also look at our Git repo and pinpoint the moment that we had actually changed that package version as a dependency. And she was able to very, very quickly do the very, I'm sure, difficult work that everyone in this room has done of going through each commit and trying to figure out if this commit could be the one that caused the issue, right? So we got that process that would have taken a human being, even a human being very familiar with the code, probably at best 20 minutes, at worst 2 hours to do. And Annie had it for us in 30 seconds so that she could corroborate our educated guess as to what the issue had been. She then was also able to tell us that like which image we needed to roll back to in order to remove the issue very quickly, and was able to sort of like facilitate that those operational steps at a time when time really does matter.
So you're essentially vibe debugging with Annie.
Absolutely. I would totally describe it that way. And we have her in some certain channels with the infrastructure team for debugging. We also have an Ask Annie channel in Slack. Oh, I should mention, we use her almost completely integrated in Slack. Only myself and another colleague of mine who's sort of also running the trial ever goes into the Annie platform. Everyone else on the team just interacts with her through Slack. So we have an Ask Annie channel that's really fun because like people, I'll sometimes lurk in there, and people who are not on the infrastructure team have sort of gotten wind of it. And they will go in there and ask her questions that are like pretty wild. And she's actually quite useful at helping them out with those things too. So it's cool.
That's so cool. Yeah. In all my past companies, we had like an Ask Architecture or Ask Infrastructure channel with all of us inside it. And now, yeah, if Annie, something that I didn't mention, but that Hilary is referring to is that Annie in a channel, you can make her subscribe to specific questions or bots. So if you have like, I don't know, a Datadog bot or whatever that is sending information, like automatically she can pick up the information and start working. So you just have to collect the result. So yeah. Cool. Thank you, Hilary. I remember one thing last week we mentioned. You said something that was interesting about so not all the time Annie is straight to the point at the beginning, and you said that she was good at changing course when the human in the loop, you namely, was saying to her like, "Oh, are you sure it's the right direction? I'm not sure." And she was like, "Oh, you're right," and she went to the right direction.
Yeah.
More about this one. It's an interesting one in the collaboration with an agent, a specialized agent.
Yes, I've been impressed with that. I find that, a pitfall of many LLM tools is that it doesn't always seem like their context is updating well in real time, right? And I have not had that experience with Annie. I've also had a couple experiences with her where I've asked a question and she's actually said to me, well, I remember from a previous conversation that you said this, and so I'm going to use that as part of my, response. I'm going to take that into account, which is really nice. And we can say to her like, "Hey, for the future, please remember XYZ thing is idiosyncratic about our system," and then she'll stop making the assumption that our system is not that way, right? Which is really helpful. I think that it's been really cool also to see her learn like different preferences we have about how to communicate, right? Like at one point she had said something to us and I was had started talking to my colleague in the Slack channel, and Annie kept responding. And I said like, "Hey, Annie, I'm actually not talking to you right now. I'm talking to Jim." And she said, "Oh, in the future in this channel, I won't talk back until you mention me." So it's been interesting watch. It's just been like, in addition to being helpful, it's been very fun and really fascinating to sort of watch the way that we've started to work around having her there. And she's great to have. So
yeah. Cool. That's really cool to hear. You're actually one of the it's my last question for you. You're actually the first ones to experience proactive Annie with the reports. Chance to read something interesting in the reports recently. If yes, sure.
Yeah, so I haven't had a chance to dig in a super detailed way. I have used the report as a learning tool for some more junior folks on the team, sort of like, can you look through this and see if you can A, like figure out what she's talking about, and B, figure out if these things are actually things we should be worried about, right? And it's been really useful to have both for people learning the system and then also to actually have a filter, because it's just been the first couple ones, so we haven't done any kind of like training with her at all about what is actually an issue and what isn't. But the thing that's really nice is there's this this feature that says this is the place where you're missing monitoring, which is super crucial. We're a pretty, like I said, like we're a pretty young product. We're a pretty young team. And like, as I'm sure everyone here has experienced, like as much as we all would love to have bulletproof monitoring observability up front, like that's just not, like these things get built because they're a reaction to problems, right? So it's really nice to have the sort of the same feedback loop that you have when you build monitoring after an incident to prevent the incident from happening again, but to have it like a little tighter and also without the incident is really nice. So that's been very cool about those proactive reports.
Yeah, cool. And that's only the beginning. So yeah, cool. Any other question for Hilary?
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hilary.
Thank you so much.
Very
Thank you, folks.
to share with us. Thank you. So how does it work? No. Let me.
Yeah, it's okay. I just removed Hilary from being a panelist.
Okay, I switch her to attendee as well. All right. All right. So let's go back to the slides, and I believe we have this final slide for us, and it's all about where we're going. So yeah, it's 10 to 9, 10 to 7. So we mentioned auto monitoring and Agentic Annie. That's the directions we're going to in future weeks. A lot is already in the works. Some customers have early versions like sorry, like Hilary. So auto monitoring is really a lot about discovering 24 hours a day what's running, what's missing, what are the odd things. Maybe you have old services being still monitored for nothing, so you're paying monitors in Datadog for nothing. Maybe someone in the team over there shipped something that is not monitored, and it's gonna crash at some point, and will not be aware of it. So you will get information about like this. It's all about being able to know when things silently fail, but not enough to be notified. So if you have like percentage points of failure rate, you will not know about it, but Annie would still tell you like, are you sure it's normal that 66% of your pods here are working? It's still okay for the load balancer, for example, but it's maybe something you have to take care of. So, and in larger infrastructures, it's important to have like a bigger overview. Datadog will never tell you this because you have too many sensors and monitors and stuff like this. So Annie, being specialized, can tell you stuff like this. Another part we're working actively on is Agentic Annie. It's all about actively doing things. So as a first step, it's going to be like read-only. So I mentioned earlier, we have like this agent now proactively doing AWS CLI queries. So it's all about you have a graph, Anyshift was scanned, all your account, etc. But you have an incident right now because, I don't know, AWS crashed the physical bay where you are. Like we all had like VMs now. The graph cannot be instantly updated. So in this case, proactive Annie will say, "Wow, that's weird. I have a crash. The graph doesn't seem really up to date. I want to double check." So she will, as we would do, she will run the AWS CLI and query the API to get the live information for this specific node. And now you will know live that the node is down from the API. That's one example. Imagine the same thing with kubectl for Kubernetes or any other type of information. One example we recently had was Annie. So it was an outage for a customer, and in the end, it was because of a DNS and SSL certificate error. And Annie just said, "Oh, it's probably an SSL and a DNS error," and she gave the dig CLI command and the curl to check. How frustrating! Like you could do the curl and dig. It's not that terrible to do the curl or a tick. So she could do this thing with the new proactive Annie features.
Annie can do it faster, much faster.
Exactly, she can do it faster. And with some redeployed Annie inside your infrastructure, she can also double check from inside what can happen. So maybe the DNS from us from the outside, 8888 or 1111, Cloudflare or Google, it's okay from the outside, but maybe from the inside DNS is not up to date, and the problem is from the inside and not the outside, that sort of stuff. So it's pretty cool. Another Agentic Annie feature is the ability to collect information from inside your infrastructure. So let's say you have code that is pretty internal, you don't want processing from outside, etc. Annie can be deployed internally and access internal services that are not public, and then just return the result. So that's really cool for people having their own LLMs, their own internal data that they can't share. Even bare metal infrastructures in that case. So that's a lot of things that Agentic Annie can do. So yeah, it's all about being now proactive more than reactive. Now we have like all the bases and finding all the gaps between all the things that can go wrong and will go wrong, and so you know about it much earlier. So yeah, that's all about Anyshift Q1 2026. And now if you have like questions, Q&A, I'm super happy to answer anything.
And also for the panelists, like on the webinar, if you want to ask some questions, don't hesitate.
It was very interesting that you could connect the root cause analysis to the Git commit and the library version being updated, right? Does it integrate with CI/CD tools as well?
So we are doing this. That's the roadmap. It's a really short-term roadmap to be able to map like build issues in that case. But in the case Hilary was mentioning, we didn't need the actual build logs, because we had access to the full GitHub repository. So basically the agent, that's what you said, like could just look at all the commits and realize that it happened just after a deployment.
Yes.
And this specific deployment had this bump, and this bump in version definitely was the culprit, because it was the rest was not related to the error she had. So.
Yes. No, it's not going to be that the build would be broken, but sometimes when you upgrade a library, then it uses more CPU, and then exactly. then you see the problem in production, but exactly. You don't see it when you build it. You don't see it in the lab.
That's exactly.
Actually materializes when
Yeah. Memory leaks are another good example. So you know it leaks over time. You cannot know it leaks immediately. So yes. It's probably like in a few hours or in a few days that and only like a specific commit can, with the correlation with logs and metrics or behaviors, can give you that. So exactly. And with the weak signals here, probably you could even be aware of that like earlier. Like if it's different, so we have like a what's the word for it? So Annie is looking at all the weird changes, the odd parameters, the odd metrics, and it will report to you this information. So in this case, if she sees like even the 2 or 3 or 5% increase in memory or CPU, that is not usual. It's an anomaly. So basically, she has an anomaly detection built in, and if it correlates with the deployment, probably you will get this on the report and say, "Whoa, you should take care. Since this deployment, there is this new pattern, and it's not okay." Or like the one I showed you earlier, like it was about latency. This latency was really not usual, so that's the type of things you can do.
And then how do we make sure that anyone that's talking to Annie is a legit user, right? Because if it's the external user or someone hacks into Slack and then can ask infrastructure question, then like Annie's gonna tell them how to infiltrate the whole infrastructure, right?
You're right. In this case, well, separation of concerns and responsibilities as well. So on the infrastructure side of our customers, only so we have like SSO, that sort of stuff. So not anyone can join. So for a given domain, only SSO users and invited logged users can join. So in this case, it would be like really hard. The intruder would have to go through breaking Okta, for example, and then having access to Annie. If the intruder breaks,
this is how long they keep the cookies and the session alive, right?
Yeah. But yeah, it's the same example than if you forget your laptop unlocked at the bar. Yes, but you will probably have like bigger issues than just having Annie being able to answer questions. But yeah, you're right. The other thing is that all personal information, all PII are removed from the graph and from the data. Like you basically all the passwords, the stuff like this. You are not supposed to give any access to your, I don't know, KMS keys, for example. But you're right, it's a graph. So I can really ask Annie, tell me what sort of information Ali can have access to. And it's actually pretty interesting the other way around, because you as Ali, if you are responsible for the security of your team, you can say, I'm not sure that guy, Stefan, what can he access really in the infrastructure? And you realize I can access the vault, and I was not supposed to access the vault because I'm the marketing intern. And now you can say, oh, that's interesting. So that's the type of thing that would have taken you probably like half an hour to just go through all the permissions. So yeah, it can be interesting the other way around from a security perspective. So, and yeah, and my background is in security as well. So, so we took care of what we can do with an exploitation path from Cloudflare, the load balancer, to the variable running in deep in the cluster. So, yeah. Any other remark, question, challenge? It's okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
So now let's have a beer. Thank you.